Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is ThePromG and welcome to my 2024/2025 manga collection tour. Yeah, I realize I'm uploading this video at kind of a weird point in the year as it's almost over, but I just moved into a new apartment, got a whole new setup. I cannot wait to show you guys of my entire manga collection all in one place. So I won't take too long just yapping on in this intro here, but I do want to say my manga collection, last time I checked, is over 1,000 volumes, and I have read almost every single one of them, and I've been collecting manga seriously for probably the last 5 years, so really proud of this collection. I know you guys are probably anxious to see it, and I'm just as excited to show it off to you guys in today's video. So hopefully you enjoy the manga collection tour. If you do, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more manga videos just like this. But without any further ado, let's go ahead, get right on into the manga collection for 2024. Alright, so here we are in the new place. I just wanted to show you guys kind of my setup before we get too into the manga collection itself. Over here, we also have my movie and video game shelves, which I will also be doing separate collection videos on, so stay tuned for those. We have some box sets on top that I'll get into in a minute, entertainment center, and then the manga, which we'll get into in a minute here. But let's start off here with the manga collection. On the top, we have my Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball manga box sets. Not much to say about these. They are fantastic series. Like we all know, you guys will see how much I love Dragon Ball when we get into the second half of this manga collection video. But if I had to choose one, I gotta go with the original Dragon Ball. It's just so fun and classic. Gotta love both of these though. Then over here on the top of the shelves on the other side of the room, you can see we have all 4 of my One Piece box sets. We have some pulp manga magazines. I believe I've shown off in past videos, but like you guys just saw, I love movies, and I decided to pick out some of my favorite covers dealing with movies to collect for these pulp magazines. So we have the Battle Royale manga movies with this Uzumaki cover and the Dead or Alive cover, which looks so sick. We also have the deluxe slipcover set Kickstarter edition of Tezukami, which I got earlier this year. Basically kind of a collection of comics based on famous Osamu Tezuka manga. So all these different comic artists put their own spin on them, and it's just such a cool set. So glad to have that awesome collection. But moving down into the heart of the manga collection, starting things off here is my Osamu Tezuka collection, which, if you guys remember, my last space was all like double stacked on one shelf. Now it takes up 3 shelves of its own, which is just so cool to have it all out on display. But starting off here on the first shelf, we have my platinum manga stuff, which I'll go through here pretty quickly to keep this video hopefully not too long. But we have Wonder 3, Triton of the Sea, The Crater, a big fat book, Barbara, which is one of the rarest in this entire collection, Swallowing the Earth, Under the Air, Melody of Iron, Volumes 1 and 2 complete of Alabaster, Storm Fairy, The Thief Inoue Akikazu, Clockwork Apple, gotta shout this one out specifically. Short story collections are not usually my thing, but man, this one I cannot recommend enough. Then we have Volumes 1 and 2 complete of Captain Ken, which I actually got as freebies when I bought my near complete Phoenix set a couple years ago, which I have since sold off because I needed the money, but hopefully I'll get Phoenix back one day, and I still have kept these Captain Ken volumes because this is a super fun one. Next we have the newest, or I guess most recent release physically from Tezuka that was upside down. Just ignore that, guys. 100 Tales. This was a really good one from Ablaze Manga. I think they have some more Tezuka on the way, so I'm looking forward to those. Then we have my Astro Boy singles. Obviously a series that's influence knows no bounds, influencing things like Dragon Ball, some other classic shonen, and still see that influence today in manga and anime, which is really cool. So we have 1 through 23 of the singles. Love how that set looks. And then rounding things off for platinum manga, we have Record of the Glass Castle, Ludwig B, which I believe was one of his later series that never saw a true ending, and Crime and Punishment, which I don't love, but it's Tezuka, gotta have it. So moving down, we have the Tezuka hardcover shelf, one of my favorite shelves in my entire manga collection for obvious reasons. I mean, these just look so sick. Starting things off, we have Message to Adolf, one of my very few 10 out of 10 manga series about 3 people named Adolf in World War II, how their stories and paths converge. Just such a profound, powerful manga with one of the best endings of all time. I know a lot of you guys have this and haven't read it since it got reprinted. This is your calling. Read this series. Next, we have the Ayako hardcover, which is actually one of Tezuka's more controversial manga. I know some people, I think like even East Coast Manga, read this and hated it. I think it is super underrated, but it's not going to be for everyone with some of the themes it dives into. Next we have MW, or Mu, how it's pronounced for some fuck all reason. One of the more interesting spines you'll see in my collection. But this is not my favorite Tezuka series. I still think it's good, but it's really cool to see some early influence for Naoki Urasawa's Monster in this one, with the kind of shape-shifting antagonist, very similar to Johan in Monster, obviously. Still worth reading for sure. Next we have the Book of Human Insects hardcover. I believe I got this from Prof Otaku, which is really funny, but that's another good one. Then we have my complete set of Buddha hardcovers, which I actually got in the Wild Wild West era of r/mangaswap on Reddit. I got this whole set for $35, which is an absolute steal. And this is by far one of my favorite Tezuka series, probably top 5. Next, we have actually a paperback on the hardcover shelf. We have an imposter here, folks. This is Oji Kirihito Omnibus Complete, science fiction series from Tezuka, which is something I think he really thrives in, that genre. This is just an amazing thriller series. I think I have that like as an 8 out of 10. Maybe I'll get the singles one day, but for now, the Omnibus looks so sick on the shelf. And then moving down here, we have my favorite piece, potentially, of my Tezuka collection. That is my near complete set of Blackjack. So here you see volume 1 and 3 of the hardcovers, as well as a volume 1 copy that I'm hopefully going to trade for a volume 2 hardcover. And then you see the rest of the volumes here, missing I think 2 or 3, including volume 15, which goes for like several $100s, so I gotta get real lucky on that one, fingers crossed. Next to that, we have Dororo volumes 1 through 3 in the singles, one of Tezuka's more action-packed series, and it's not one of my favorites, but I still think this one is really good, and you gotta love how these singles look, man, so sick. Next to that, we have Princess Knight, which actually recently featured in my short manga series video, highlighting this one. I think it's so funny, has a real Disney feel to it, which is awesome. And we have the Twin Knights, which is a kind of epilogue to these. This one is not great, but you know, it completes the set, so I still have it here in the collection. Next, we have the Apollo Song singles, which are also backwards. Yeah, I just moved, guys. You gotta cut me a little slack. This one is awesome as well. Definitely prefer the first volume, but still probably like an 8 or a 9 out of 10 for me. Then we have Bamba, which is a short manga by Tezuka, but some of the coolest imagery he has ever put on page. Hopefully I can show you some cool artwork here. Yeah, this burning bus page is very, very cool. Also, just the pages on this book are textured in a way that's really awesome. So, gotta love Bamba. Next up here we have the bilingual edition of Jungle Emperor Leo, another Tezuka classic. This one is written, or I guess kind of subtitled in Japanese and English. Then we have probably my rarest Tezuka volume, or one of. Some of these are pretty pricey, believe me. Here we have Unico from Platinum Manga. This is a very cool one because it is entirely full color, which is one of the very few Tezuka volumes in English we have, so really awesome to see the colorful world of Tezuka actually put into color. Spent a pretty penny on that one, as well as this one, The Mysterious Underground Men. This is an older Tezuka series, not quite as good as some of the other stuff you'll see from him, but still a very cool release from Tencent. That's pretty hard to find nowadays. And before I forget, we also have this Viz graphic novel version of Blackjack Volume 1, and the Dark Horse singles with Lost World, Next World, and Metropolis. These volumes here are definitely not some of the best content from Tezuka, but they're still pretty solid nevertheless, and they round out the collection, which I love so much. Now moving on to the next shelf here, we have another classic. We have Fist of the North Star. I believe this is up to date in the Viz hardcovers. I've been reading through these, absolutely love it. It's not the most philosophical or, you know, message-driven manga. It's just buff dudes fighting with some serious heart and serious emotion, so gotta love Fist of the North Star. Can't wait to keep picking those up. Then we have Erased Complete Volumes 1 through 5. This was actually in my top 5 manga series.
Hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
Yeah, that's my Talking Ash action figure. Just ignore him. This was actually in my top 5 manga series that I read last year in 2023, and this is in my top 10 manga of all time. I think it's a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. Love this one so much. Great mystery. Then we have Akira Toriyama's Manga Theater, which I have not read yet, but I'm a big fan, obviously, of Toriyama, some of the other stuff he's made, so I'm excited to get into this one once I find a little bit of time to sit down with it. Then moving on down here to the bottom shelf, it is... Yeah, it's a mess, but we'll get through it. So starting off here, we have a box set I completely forgot about. We have the Akira 50th anniversary box set. I can't remember how old this is, but this is a great set of hardcovers there. Here we have some volumes of One Piece that aren't out in box sets yet. We have Utsubora, Zero's Familiar, I'm a Hero, bunch of other random stuff, My Spice and Wolf, some random stuff here, my Gone box set, Toilet Bound Hanako box set 2 that Yen Press sent me. We have some more light novels, 86, ReZero, and I don't really feel like getting them out, but my entire set of Rurouni Kenshin Vizbigs is back here. Way overpaid on these, but I love Rurouni Kenshin so much, one of my favorite shonen series, so glad to have this full set, though you can't see it on the shelves. So moving on to the next bookcase, we have some more light novels, starting off here with my almost complete set of Vampire Hunter D. This is such a hard set to complete, and honestly I'm thinking about selling this just because from what I've read it's not quite the novel series for me, and they're not even really light novels. I would say they're like novels, so it's quite a time commitment and I'm not really enjoying it too much, so I think I'm gonna part ways with the set even though it's such a grail. But you know, if you're not enjoying it, why keep it on the shelf? Then we have the first Bakemonogatari, or I guess Monogatari light novel box set. Haven't gotten into this one yet, but I definitely plan to. We have 3 Days of Happiness, great short little light novel. We have a random volume of Shuzo Oshimi's Inside Mari, and volumes 1 and 2 of Tomahawk Angel, which I gotta thank Manga Sloth for putting me onto this series because it is awesome. Moving on down to the next shelf, we have my Kentaro Miura shelf with the badass Berserker armor pop-up parade figure, but as you can see here, we have the entire set of Berserk in the DMP singles, as well as King of Wolves, the collaboration one-shot he did with Burnson. I actually think this one is really good. You know, it's not just a collector's item that's cool to have. I think that's actually a very high quality series, and a little bit lower quality, but also a cool collector's piece to have is Japan. Again, Burnson wrote it, illustrated by Kentaro Miura. Very cool one as well. We have the official guidebook, the Flame Dragon Knight light novel, which I have not read, and Gigantomaxia, which I actually really enjoyed this. I just wish there was more to this world and this story because it was so promising, but you know, obviously we'll never get more of that. Then moving on down, we have, you guys all saw it coming, we have my Gantz set, my favorite manga that I've ever read, and one of the coolest, most prized pieces in my entire collection. Obviously, volumes 1 through 37 in the singles. Had a bunch of fun piecing this set together back when I was in college. And yeah, spent a pretty penny on it, but it was totally worth it. And then we have also up here this random volume of Gantz Minus, which is a Japanese light novel. I've thought about picking up the Gantz Manual and Gantz Exa, which are also similar Japanese tankobons, but you know, maybe I'll get those one day. And then below that we have another one of my favorite manga creators of all time. Next to Tezuka, we have Taiyo Matsumoto. So we'll get into these books here. Starting things off here, we have The Tipping Point, which is actually a comic compilation that features a story from Taiyo Matsumoto, as you can see. And right below him, actually, Naoki Urasawa has a short little story in here. So that's a very cool one. If you can find that for a good price, definitely recommend picking it up. Even besides those two stories, there's some good ones in there. Next, we have the number 5 singles put out by Pulp, by Viz. These are super rare, but number 5 is one of my favorite manga of all time, and these large print editions are so cool. Also feature a couple color pages at the beginning, which is very nice. Then we have Japan, which is another kind of comic compilation with some great artists, and one being Taiyo Matsumoto, obviously. Next, we have Ping Pong Complete Volumes 1 and 2 in these beautiful Viz omnibuses. One of the best sports series ever made. Haven't seen the anime to this, but I hear it's amazing. Next, we have Cats of the Louvre, one of my favorite spines in my collection. That's an awesome one. We have volumes 1 and 2 of Tokyo these days. I believe the third one is out. I still have to get that, but this is looking to be one of Taiyo Matsumoto's more grounded manga, but I'm really enjoying this one so far. Next, we have Sunny, volumes 1 through 6. I believe this is kind of an autobiographical kind of look into Taiyo Matsumoto's early life as he grew up in a similar environment to the kind of foster kids in this series. Could be totally wrong about that, but regardless, this is an awesome one as well. Then we have Go-Go Monster, which I believe actually just got reprinted. For the longest time, this was super expensive, but this is his probably most abstract manga, which is saying something because a lot of the manga in his catalog are absolutely bizarre, but Go-Go Monster is great. We have number 5, the complete run that was recently put out by Viz in these beautiful volumes here. Again, one of my 10 out of 10 manga, one of my favorites of all time. I have a manga review I'll put up in some corner here if you want to check that out. Then we have the Tech on Concrete, aka Black and White singles, put out by Pulp. Love these pastel colors. Not one of my favorite Matsumoto series, but I definitely need to revisit it because I know so many people love it, and I did enjoy it, but I feel like I could have gotten more out of it. And then we have Blue Spring, which is, to this day, still pretty rare. Single put out by Viz, short story collection. It's all right, some fun ones, some misses, kind of a mixed bag, but still awesome to have it on the shelf. Then moving away from Taiyo Matsumoto, we have some more random stuff. We have Shadow Lady Volume 1 through 3. This is a super fun one. Kind of rushed ending as I believe it got canceled, but still very cute, very action-packed and fun one regardless. Then we have Shion Blade of the Minstrel. Last time I checked, I couldn't even find this manga online, like the scans of it, but this first volume here put out by Viz in the Spectrum editions has some insane dark fantasy artwork. So if you can find this volume, definitely pick it up. It is so cool. Then up here we have Super Dimensional Love Gun, which a viewer actually sent to me for free. That one is wacky, not for the faint of heart whatsoever, but definitely a cool one in the collection. And then we have my Uzumaki singles, the Pulp singles, just beautiful set. Obviously a big horror fan, and Uzumaki I think is the best Junji Ito has to offer, so love having these volumes on the shelves. Then moving down to the last shelf on this bookcase, we have kind of another mess of stuff being stacked behind each other. But starting off here, we have my Kira Toriyama singles, Sandland, Kawa, Jacko the Galactic Patrolman. Love all of these. Had to pick one. Probably Sandland as my favorite. I need to play the video game that just came out for that as well. Then we have Gigant by Hiroyi Oku, the author of Gantz, 1 through 10 complete. Some people don't like this one. Personally, I think it is a whole lot of fun. Moving down here to the front on a completely different note, we have 1 through 10 complete of Keiji Nakazawa's Barefoot Gen in these Last Gasp hardcovers. This is a manga who actually lived through the atomic bombing of, I believe, Hiroshima, and yeah, just getting kind of a child's perspective on that whole disastrous event and just the catastrophe that followed in the years following the war. Really impactful manga. Highly recommend this one. Next to that, we have Offered and Wounded Man by Kazuo Koke, illustrated by Ryuichi Ikigami, one of my favorite manga artists ever. Offered is amazing. Also featured this in my recent short manga series, and Wounded Man is just a spectacular adventure. Very pulpy series here, not the highest quality narratives, but still, just so much fun. Then above that, we actually have this self-print volume of Lady Snowblood Gaiden that Weebra sent me. This is actually illustrated by Ryuichi Ikigami as well. And like I said, this is a self-print, so you can't readily buy this. This was made, by a private person. I don't know how he got it, but now it's in my collection, and I am so glad to have it. Behind all those books, we have some more stuff, starting off with another Hiroyi Oku manga that I love so much, Inushika Complete, volumes 1 through 10, basically about this useless old man who gains kind of like superpowers and he becomes a hero. Really awesome one. Then we have The Fable, Omnibus 1 through 3. This is a newer release from Kodansha that I've been picking up, a comedy about this hitman who does a big hit, has to lay low and live as a normal person, but of course some gang stuff follows him to his new life that he has to deal with, so very fun comedy series. And then on a more serious note, we have Innocent by Shinichi Sakamoto. These are the first 2 omnibus put out by Dark Horse. Only read the first one, but I absolutely loved it. And then the final thing on the shelf is my Classroom of the Elite light novels. As you can see, we have all of them through year 2, volume 3. I think I've read, or I'm in the middle of volume 8, and I haven't read this in quite a while, so I definitely need to get back on this one because it is a whole lot of fun, a great story. And now moving up to the top of this final bookcase out here in the living room, Starting things off, we have some Tsutomu Nihei manga. We have Noise. This is the newer hardcover put out by Kodansha that I think they put out a couple of years ago now. Definitely a very cool prologue, but not quite as good as the series next to it, which is Blam. One of my holy grails in the singles here, volumes 1 through 10 complete of Blam. This is one of the best sci-fi manga I've ever read. Not a whole lot of dialogue in this one, but just the atmosphere and the ambiance makes this such an immersive manga. I'm not expecting you to go out and find these super expensive outer press singles, but definitely get the master editions or read this online. This is a pretty fast but super engrossing series. Real quick, we have a random volume of Midori Days 3 that's basically there to capture dust from getting on these volumes, as well as volumes 35 and 36, which were obviously not captured in the 2011 anime of Hunter x Hunter, which is my favorite anime of all time. But back onto the real stuff here, we have more science fiction greatness. We have Tenpenshu by Hiroki Endo. This is a short story collection, probably my favorite short story collection of all time, by one of my favorite manga as well, who also made Eden, It's an Endless World, another holy grail that I'm so glad to have found before absolutely skyrocketed in price. Here we have volumes 1 through 14 of the Dark Horse singles, and the rest of the series, which was never put in English, 15 through 18 in these beautiful self-prints here. Just such a cool sci-fi story with so much going on. Kind of hard to follow at times, but if you're a big sci-fi buff who wants a super in-depth, lived-in sci-fi world to dig their teeth into, this is the one for you. Above that, we have Smuggler. This is one that I actually got as a freebie from a manga swap buy. Couldn't tell you exactly what this is about, but about some like underworld dealings and like bio-mutants. I remember this being okay, but I would definitely revisit this one again, so it's staying on the shelf for now. Below that, we have volumes 1 through 12 of Twin Speak Complete from Vertical. This is another one that is super hard to find, but if you can get your hands on it, it is totally worth it. Very touching story about this girl who goes to school to fulfill her lifelong dream of being an astronaut, though she has a bunch of obstacles in her way. Also a supernatural twist on this one that is very cool. Next to that, we have, come on guys, absolute peak here. Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro, volumes 1 through 16. Say what you will about this one, I have a lot of fun with it. It's really cute. I think it's actually nearing its ending or is already ended in Japan, so I'm excited to have the complete set of this one, a series that means quite a bit to me. Next to that, we have volumes 1 through 6, complete in English, of Asanta Inoue's Tokyo Tribes. This is a super bizarre one about these warring gangs on the streets in Japan that just have it out with each other. A really, really underrated one, but also super cool. Wish we got the rest of this in English, but I think somebody discovered the scans of this online, which I personally could not find, so I'll have to check out this one and finish this one out. Really, really cool series. And then the last thing I want to show on the shelf is actually my volume of Avant-Garde Yumiko by Shuzo Oshimi, which Asian Mayor actually went to go see him in, I believe, New York or New Jersey, and got this signed by Shuzo Oshimi, which was so, so cool. I think he was really excited to sign something other than Flowers of Evil or Blood on the Tracks. So when he saw somebody brought this, which is a super controversial, not a lot of people like this, I think that really made the signing for him, which is awesome story. So thank you, Asian Mayor, for getting that signed for me. On the shelf below that, we have another one of my 10 out of 10 series, of course, one that needs no introduction, Vinland Saga. Still haven't read these two. I'm kind of waiting for the series to end or get some more volumes so I can binge it. But man, this is just such an awesome tale, some of the best artwork you'll find in manga, and just a great historical fiction series that I'm sure a lot of you guys already love. I don't need to sell you on it, but if you haven't read it, check out Vinland Saga. Next to that, we have Shortcuts by Usamara Furuya. These are two very hard to find volumes. It's kind of like a comic strip series, which is really cool. Not going to be for everybody, but I personally really enjoy the humor in this one. Then we have also by Usamara Furuya, No Longer Human, volumes 1 through 3. When I first got into manga collecting, this was like a $150, $200 set. Now you can get this whole thing for like $70 or less in these singles, and I absolutely love this manga series. Obviously, super depressing, not gonna be for everybody, but it's definitely for me. Also wanted to show off these two little One Piece figurines I got from, I believe, Tony Reed's manga in Secret Santa a couple years ago, so those are really fun. Then we have Astra Lost in Space, volumes 1 through 5. Another super underrated short manga that I absolutely love. I'd give this like an 8 out of 10. Definitely check it out. Then moving down here, we have another one of my favorite shelves in my entire collection. This is my Inyo Asano stuff. So starting off here on the left, we have Nijihara Holograph in this hardcover. Definitely one of his more experimental works. Not one of my favorites. I still give this probably like a 7 out of 10. I enjoy it quite a bit though. Downfall, which is a kind of look into some of the more depressing aspects of Inyo Asano's own personal life. Very good one. What a Wonderful World, a short story collection. Again, varying quality, but there are some great ones in there as well. Next, we have my favorite Asano work, Dead Dead Demons, Dead Dead Destruction, complete now, volumes 1 through 12. And there's just some great commentary in this one about some of the world's today's most pressing issues, like immigration and the role of politics and social media, all that kind of stuff. Just such a fantastic series. Next, we have Solonin, which is definitely one of his fan favorites, one of the classics about the joy of making music and, you know, figuring out what you're doing as a young adult. This one, definitely check it out if you're in some of those similar situations where you just love music like I do. Then we have, of course, the classic Goodnight Pun Pun, which I absolutely love. Volumes 1 through 7. Actually need to get around to rereading this. Then we have A Girl on the Shore, one of Asano's, or probably his most controversial manga. Some people really like this. I do not like it, but again, I probably need to reread this just because there has to be something I'm missing, right, guys? Right? And a couple other things at the end here. We have The God's Lie by Kara Orizaki, a very short one-shot, but very good. We have Hio Azuma's Disappearance Diary. This is from like a Tezuka age mangaka, so this is kind of older, about this Hideo Azuma mangaka who kind of just is tired of making manga, so he just says fuck it. He quits his job, he abandons his family, and just kind of goes through some stages of his life. This is a really cool one, especially knowing it's based on a true story, his own life. So definitely check this one out. I believe that's from Fanfare. Definitely a good one to pick up. Then we have My Broken Mariko by Waka Hirako. I have this on the Asano shelf because this really does remind me of an Asano manga in tone and subject matter. This is a super good one and a very nice hardcover from Yen Press. Then we have 1 through 3 complete of Mail. This is a horror manga that I thought the first couple chapters were really good, and then it just kind of gets repetitive, but it's still a very cool out-of-print series that I like having around on the shelf. Then we have, the final thing on this shelf is Flowers of Evil singles, volumes 1 through 11. Love how these singles look, and my favorite Shuzo Oshimi manga by far. This stuff after the time skip is some of my favorite manga ever written, so can't say enough good things about this series. Love to death. And then on the final shelf here, wouldn't you know it, more double stacking. So we'll start off here in the front. We have Death Note volumes 1 through 12. Actually had this years ago, sold it off because I thought I was gonna get the black editions. Never got the black editions. And I found these for like $4 a piece at my local store a couple weeks ago, so I bought them. Want to reread this pretty soon because obviously Death Note is a classic. Really enjoy that one. Then we have my Knights of Sidonia singles from Tsutomu Nihei, the same author as Blam. This is a really cool sci-fi one as well. Has some mystery aspects to it. And similar to Blam, it doesn't feed you a lot of information at the beginning. It leaves you to figure stuff out for yourself. Love when a series can do that. Then we have volumes 1 through 3 of Crying Freeman, missing 4 and 5, which are pretty expensive. And I don't love this series, but I figured just being such a fan of Ryuichi Ikigami and Kazuo Koke, the author of this series, I wanted to at least have them to reference and read from time to time, so maybe if I'll get lucky, I can get the last 2 volumes, but not super high on the priorities. And then behind that, we actually have already bubble wrapped and ready to ship Kabuto volumes 1 through 2. This is an older manga from the Comics One publisher. Wasn't a fan of this one, but if anyone wants to buy this, 50 shipped, leave a comment. I'll send it to you ASAP. And then we have volume 1 of Dementia 21. Got this off Manga Swap earlier this year. Haven't read this one yet other than like the first couple chapters. Need to get back into that, but definitely very wacky. Then we have my Blade of the Immortal singles, volumes 1 through 31. Again, out of order, just got done unpacking. You guys gotta give me a little leeway for this video in particular, but this is one of my favorite manga series of all time. I would say teetering on a 10 out of 10 for me. Just beautiful artwork, a fantastic story, some of the best antagonists I have ever read. And also we have the light novel here. This is Legend of the Sword Demon. Obviously still shrink wrapped, haven't read it. Then we have Alive: The Final Evolution, a super slept on manga. Volumes 1 through 5, and I'm missing 6 and 7. Only 8 volumes were put out in English. I think there's like 20 plus total. So I need to catch up on this one, reading the scans, but what I read in English is just phenomenal, super underrated. Then we have Inside Mari, volumes 1 and 2. I have read these, need to get more because obviously Love Oshimi and this one is super unique, and I'm really digging the premise here. So now we're in my bedroom, which houses 3 more shelves that I, couldn't fit in my living room and/or didn't want to have them all cluttered out there. So here we have the rest of the stuff. Real quick, wanted to show off my Dragon Ball figures. There's a terrible glare, but as you guys can see, yeah, I like Dragon Ball, and this isn't even all of them. Don't even get me started, but love how this display case looks. We also have some horror figures, my 18-inch NECA, which kind of guard this random bookcase of manga that is a really mixed bag, but let's get right into it. So starting off here, we have volumes 1 through 9 of Battle Angel Alita, and volumes 1 through 19 complete of Battle Angel Alita Last Order. I will never stop saying that Battle Angel Alita is one of, if not the most underrated sci-fi manga ever. I mean, people know this series exists, but they just don't read it for whatever reason. But Alita is a fantastic protagonist. The world is super lived in and colorful. And Last Order, I know, wasn't super popular when it was releasing. As you can see, it even changed publisher. But I mean, first we gotta mention how absolutely breathtaking these Last Order spines look on the shelf. Not these 4, but this series actually has one of my favorite manga volumes ever. I believe it's volume 8 or 9 with the vampires is so cool. And one of the best tournament arcs I've ever read in manga is in Last Order. So definitely check out Alita. And if you like Alita, check out Last Order because it is just as good. Absolutely love it. On a side note, I recently found out that this volume I got for like $5 is now like 200. So I won't be selling it, but very interesting thing to note if you see that out in the wild. Next, another volume in the Alita universe. We have Ash and Victor, Motorball Diaries from the world of Battle Angel Alita. This more focuses in on the motorball sport, which is kind of a subplot or thing in the Alita universe, which is very cool. This is a awesome little thing here. Then we have Under Ninja, volumes 1 through 3. Got these recently at the U-Store. Haven't read it, and we're kind of getting into stuff that is kind of TBR / I don't know what to do with. We have Orfina. Don't even remember when I bought that, but I have it. Then we have Joan, volumes 1 through 3 by Yoshikazu Yasuhiko, the creator of Mobile Suit Gundam The Origin, which we'll get into in a second here. Really, really cool. Hard to find series, but if you can find it, it's totally worth it. About the time of Joan of Arc. Doesn't actually follow Joan of Arc, which is kind of misleading, but as you can see, full color watercolor artwork. Great looking art in that one. Next to that, we have Fate Stay Night, volumes 1, 2, 5, 4, and 6. More out of order stuff, what a surprise. I'm trying to sell these, they're just here on the shelf for now. Then we have The Girl from the Other Side, 1 through 6. Again, probably one of my favorite series I've read this year. Wouldn't be surprised to see that on the top 5. Need to get the rest of that. Then we have Yokohama Kadaishi Kiko, Omnos 1 and 2 from 7 Seas. Got these used. I get why people like this. I'm not a huge fan, so this is something I'll probably try to sell pretty quick here. Bunch of stuff that Yen Press has sent me over the past couple years. Rent a Girlfriend that Sam SideQuest sent me for free that I don't want really, but have them. Then we have more Yen Press stuff. Random 28 that has the new Viz logo that are replaced with the old one because I like the old one better. Posms, volumes 1 through 4 by Tsutomu Nihei. Got these literally yesterday, so looking forward to reading that one. Hopefully it's good. Then we have like this art card set from the Code Geass Blu-ray box set. I don't know why they're over here, but they're over here. And just to round things off, we have a 20-inch Predator figure. He just kind of chills down here. And then the last 2 shelves of the manga collection are over here. These are the ones that I think you're most used to seeing in my previous setup in my bedroom. So not a whole lot has changed on these, but still we'll go over them regardless. Got some great stuff on here. Starting things off, we have 1 through 12 of Spy Family. Probably my favorite ongoing shonen manga, second to One Piece. This one is just super fun and cute, action-packed. Enough can't be said about this one. Next to that, we have Hellsing, Volume 1 through 10. This is a funny one because I've bought and owned and also subsequently sold this manga a couple times now, but it's here for good because this manga is just so nostalgic for me. Though it's not my favorite thing in the world, it's just means a lot to me. Read this when I was growing up and just has a special place in my heart. We'll move Goku here to get to the stuff behind him. We have Sanctuary, volumes 1 through 9 by Sho Fumimura, which is a pen name for Burnson, who made Fist of the North Star. Next, we have Emerald and Other Short Stories by Hiroaki Samura, the author of Blade of the Immortal. Fun short story collection there. The Wolf Children, one I read, I believe, last year. A story that maybe made me shed a few tears. You know, I'm not too proud to admit that one. That one got me my feels. And then we have My Two Shoes Oshimi. This was a con exclusive. A couple one-shots here. We have Waltz and Miss Kusakabe. Pretty hard to find, but lucky enough, Asia Mare, yet again, came through with the Oshimi and got these at, I believe, Anime NYC. Could be wrong about that, but very cool to have regardless. Next here we have My Kaoru Mori Shelf. Again, one of my favorite manga creators of all time. Starting things off here, we have Emma, volumes 1 through 5. A great series about this like Victorian era maid who falls in love with someone of higher status who they can't be with. Kind of a star-crossed lover's tale, but it's a great one. Then we have Anything and Something. This is a, I think, short story collection, kind of mixed in with some illustrations. I read this forever ago. It didn't really stick in my mind, but this is a very hard to find one. And again, it's Kaoru Mori, so glad to have it in the collection. Next, we have another 10 out of 10 series for me. That is A Bride's Story. Again, I can't say enough about this one. The cast of characters, the world is spectacular. Has some romance in it, has some action, some war. I mean, this series really has everything. If you don't want to read a girly manga and you're scared off by the title, this one, anybody can enjoy, and I sure as hell enjoy it quite a bit. Next to that, we have Scribbles, Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3. I believe this is all that is going to come out. These are a collection of illustrations from Kaoru Mori, you know, some sketches. You get to see some concept artwork and early artwork for some characters in a series like Emma and Bride's Story, which is super cool. As well as Shirley, which I believe is one of Kaoru Mori's earliest works. And yeah, it's pretty good. Kind of a precursor to Emma. Not the best thing in the world, but again, this one is pretty hard to find and it is still very fun. So glad to have it on the shelf with the rest of the Mori stuff. Then moving down here, we have Slam Dunk Complete, volumes 1 through 31. One of my favorite sports manga. It's up there with Ping Pong. May actually be my favorite sports manga. It goes back and forth every day, but Takiko Inoue, author of Vagabond, and some other stuff as well. This is just a great one. Speaking of which, you won't see Real on the shelves, though I have read it. I traded that for my aforementioned Phoenix set, so that was part of that deal. But I plan on getting that back because I think it's being reprinted currently. Then next to that we have Strain by Burnson and illustrated by Ryuichi Ikigami. Of course, this one is bizarre. It's not for everybody, but it's fun enough. It's pulpy, no pun intended, and I have a good time with it, though it's definitely not the highest quality. Then below that we have some more Dragon Ball figures. We have a couple Android 13, but I won't bother moving them. We have One Punch Man volumes 1 through 28, including, okay, guess I'm gonna move them, but volume 1, the Loot Crate edition, has a special cover. It looks very cool. Yeah, One Punch Man, don't need to say too much about it. Beautiful artwork from Yusuke Murata, and you know, the story from one, the characters are just great as well. Next to that we have Ultimo, concept by Stan Lee, and illustrated and written by Hiroaki Takei, the author and illustrator of Shaman King, which I have not read, but I have read Ultimo. Similar to Hellsing, this is a manga that I grew up reading, and I wanted to collect this and have it in the collection. Oh my god, I can't even live with myself. Ignoring the fact that these volumes are out of order, Ultimo is not going to be the best manga you've ever read, but the character designs and just the action are insane. So glad to have this holy grail on my shelf because it just means so much to me other than its current market value it has. Then moving down below that, we have Aria the Masterpiece Complete 1 through 7. Very chill slice of life manga about these gondola rowers on this futuristic planet. So chill, love the characters in the world. Since we have some double stacking, we'll kind of skip around on this one as well. Next here we have Silent Voice, box set 1 through 7. Love the movie. I watched it before reading it, and you definitely get some more insight and some more depth with the characters in this manga, so highly recommend reading this manga. Then we have The Boxer, Volume 1 from Eyes Press. I read this, really enjoyed it. You need to pick up more, but it's been so long, so definitely need to remind myself to get back on The Boxer. It is awesome. Then we have Eminon, Volumes 1 through 3. Really enjoyed the first volume. The second 2, take it or leave it, but you know, Eminon, very cool concept, and I know a lot of people love this manga. I definitely enjoy it to some degree. Then we have Dog Ningen, Volumes 1 through 4, with a couple duplicates. We have some uncensored covers, as well as, I believe, okay, that one still has it. Yeah, some censored covers. Most of these were sent to me actually by the artist and the creator of Dog Ningen. And this is just, you know, people think it's a meme, but I actually think this is a pretty high quality indie series. So definitely recommend checking this one out if you're not easily offended. Then we have volumes 1 through 8 of Sundame. This is my favorite ecchi series of all time. It's very funny, but also very dark. And it's just such an interesting series that unfortunately is out of print, so you can't readily go out and get it, and I doubt this will ever get reprinted, but I would highly recommend reading this online for a super unique ecchi series that doesn't fall into all of the cliches you see with some of the other stuff in the current landscape of the genre. Then we have Siren, volumes 1 through 16. Similar to Ultimo and Hellsing, a series I grew up reading. While other kids were playing Naruto on the playground, me and my friends were playing Siren. We like printed out the little cards they had. Yeah, love this one. Again, very underrated battle manga that has more emphasis on the characters and story than the battle system, which I think is so unique and a reason I love this series to death. We have a couple random volumes of Wave Listen to Me by Hiroaki Samura, the author of Blade of the Immortal. Haven't gotten to those yet, obviously, as I need to get the first 2, but I've heard some people actually really like this one. Above that, we have 1 through 3 of Solo Leveling. I think I've read the first 2, and it was pretty good. I don't know if I want to keep picking these up though, might just read them online. Next to that, we have Mobile Suit Gundam, The Last Outpost. Haven't read these. Want to watch a little bit more of the Gundam anime before I get into these, so actually, you know what's going on in it. And we have volume 1 of Dragons Rioting. Got this from Later Read, I believe. Did a video on this first volume and actually got demonetized. One of my only demonetized videos. I actually really like this first volume, so maybe I'll try and pick up the rest of that series eventually. Then we have a couple art books. We have Keiji Goto illustrations and this Vampire Knight art book. Never read Vampire Knight, but the illustrations in this are really cool, and I got it for super cheap, so I like having it in the collection. And now we've arrived at the final bookcase in my manga collection, so let's go ahead and get right into it. We have volumes 1 through 2 of the classic collection editions of Devilman, a classic from Go Nagai. The Crybaby anime is awesome, and if you've watched it, I definitely recommend reading this manga. Recommend this manga regardless, but no, if you've gotten a little bit of a taste with Devilman Crybaby, this manga is just awesome. Next to that, we have Battle Royale volumes 1 through 15 with the matching Tokyo Pop spines. Love how these look on the shelf. Obviously, the movie really kicked it off for Battle Royale as a genre that we see now in movies and video games, and the manga is great. Definitely very depressing, almost teetering on the edge of like a horror manga. I mean, it gets rough, but man, there's a lot of fun to be had in this one as well. Just a crazy, crazy manga. Then we have a horror manga that's actually a whole lot of fun. We have Frank and Fran. Also featured this in my recent short manga spotlight video. These recently got reprinted by 7 Seas, and it's just a very fun episodic comedy manga. Lots of awesome body horror in that one. And then next to that, we have volumes 1 through 10 of Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer, another short manga that was out of print for quite a bit, but recently got reprinted by 7 Seas in these omnibuses. And again, just a whole lot of fun in that one as well. Moving down, we have one of the most important manga to ever come out in English, Lone Wolf and Cub Complete, volumes 1 through 28 by Kazuo Koke. Just a classic samurai tale. Up until volume 15, it's more episodic, and then it just becomes more epic as the story really comes together in these later volumes. Love this series. Love to have these singles on the shelves. Then we have Mobile Suit Gundam The Origin in these beautiful hardcovers, volumes 1 through 12 complete. This really got me into Gundam, into watching the anime series. If you're looking to get into Gundam, don't know where to start with this manga. It is awesome. Then we have Boku no Hours, volumes 1 through 11 complete. One of the rare series in my collection, if you can believe it or not. I know there's a lot of rare stuff, but this one is very hard to find, especially this volume number 3 here. But another grim, depressing series about these kids who kind of get trapped into this death game where they have to pilot this giant mech and like save their own world. It's a crazy one, not gonna be for everyone, some dark subject matter, but personally, I thought it was awesome. Next to that, if I can get it out, we have the Collector's Edition Volume 1 hardcover of Naruto. Love how this book looks. Actually traded for this with someone on Reddit who's a viewer of the channel, so very grateful to have that in the collection. Then we have 20th Century Boys Complete, volumes 1 through 22, and 21st Century Boys Complete 1 and 2. This is my favorite Naoki Urasawa manga. The cast of characters is second to none. Kenji is probably one of my favorite manga characters ever, and just, it's a great sci-fi mystery that I still think about to this day. This is such an awesome one. Next to that, we have more Urasawa. We have Pluto Complete, volumes 1 through 8, and a spare copy of 7 I have for really no reason at all, but Pluto, very great manga. Recently got an amazing adaptation on Netflix. Check that out. Check out this manga as well because it's super emotional, action-packed, and a great retelling of one of Osamu Tezuka's greatest stories ever in Astro Boy, the greatest robot on Earth. Then we have Random Volume 2 of Rose of Versailles. I want to get into this series eventually, just need to find that Volume 1 for a good price, but I've heard this is one of these shoujo classics, so I definitely want to expand my manga repertoire and get into more shoujo. Heard this is a good one. Next, below that, we have Vagabond 1 through 37, obviously Vizbigs 1 through 12, which have 3 volumes each, and the single volume 37, which is all we have at this point in Vagabond. Hopefully, in the manga collection video in the future, I'll have more, but, you know, I'm not keeping my hopes up. But Vagabond, obviously a classic, don't need to say too much about it. Greatest artwork, I think, in any manga ever, and just a fantastic samurai story, amazing characters, just a classic all around. Then we have Volume 1 of Aqua, which actually I'm not completely sure what this is. It's related to Arya, you know, same characters. This might be like a slightly different version. Someone can educate me, but I got this at Half Price Books for $5 and I was like, yeah, I like Arya, I'll pick it up. Then we have Planetes Omnibus 1 and 2 complete from Makoto Yukamura, the author of Vinland Saga. Very solid sci-fi series. At one point, this was in my top 10. Since it slipped a little bit, but still like a 9 out of 10. Then we have Seraphim Wings by Mamoru Oshii and Satoshi Kon, a collaboration between some of the greatest anime directors ever. This one sadly is unfinished because Satoshi Kon passed away before it could be concluded, but still worth reading in my opinion. And then we have Stargazing Dog. This is a tearjerker if you love dogs. Read this or don't read this. Yeah, you guys probably know what I mean, but just a super emotional story. If you love dogs, proceed with caution. And then moving down to the final row in my entire manga collection, we'll start things off with a bang.